The Dogman of Taylor Woods, Part 7. The sun was barely up when Paul heard a firm knock at his door. He opened it to find Enoch standing there with a big smile, and his old leather hat tilted back on his head. "Morning, Paul. This is a beautiful day. Sun's out, breeze is cool, the woods are alive. Let's go for a walk. I'll show you a part of Taylor Woods your granddaddy used to love." Paul's eyes drifted toward the tree line, the same tree line that seemed to stare back at him some nights. "I don't know, Enoch. Feels like every time I'm near those woods, something's watching me." Enoch chuckled, his voice calm but sure. "I've been roaming these trees since before you were born. I know every creek bend, every animal trail, every hollow tree. Trust me, we'll be fine. But," he gave Paul a serious look, "bring your rifle and your sidearm. I've got mine too, just in case." Paul nodded, went to the back room and came out carrying his .30-06 rifle and his pistol on his hip. Enoch gave an approving nod. The trail just beyond the edge of Paul's property was narrow, covered in pine needles that muffled their footsteps. Sunlight cut through the canopy in golden streaks, and the smell of damp earth and cedar filled the air. Birds called overhead, and a squirrel darted up a tree trunk, its claws scratching the bark. As they walked, Enoch started telling stories about Paul's grandfather. "You know," Enoch said, stepping over a fallen log, "your granddaddy could track a deer for miles without leaving so much as a broken twig behind him. One time we were out here in the middle of a snowstorm, and he spotted tracks so faint I could barely see him. By sundown, he'd brought us right to a buck bigger than I'd ever seen." Paul smiled. "Yeah, I remember him telling me that story when I was a kid." They laughed about old memories, swapping tales of fishing trips, hunting mishaps, and the time Paul's grandfather supposedly scared off a bear with nothing but a shout. Then, the laughter stopped. Up ahead, standing in the middle of the trail, was something Paul had never seen in daylight, at least not this close. It was small, no taller than a 6-year-old child. Its body was covered in dark coarse fur and its legs bent backward like a dog's. The face was unmistakably canine, elongated snout, sharp ears, eyes glowing amber even in the sunlight. It didn't snarl, it didn't charge. It just stood there, watching. Paul's heart slammed against his ribs. Instinct took over. He raised his rifle, finger on the trigger. Before he could fire, Enoch lunged forward and yanked the rifle out of his hands. "What are you doing?" Paul shouted, his voice cracking with fear. Enoch's face was stern, his voice low but firm. "If you'd pulled that trigger, Paul, you would have started a war you couldn't win. That's a juvenile Dogman. Couldn't be more than a couple years old. You heard it, and the pack will come for you with everything they've got. You carry a weapon for defense, not offense, remember that." Paul's eyes dropped to the forest floor, shame creeping into his chest. I wasn't thinking, You panicked," Enoch said, his tone softening. "That's natural, but fear will get you killed out here faster than any creature. Be encouraged, young man. You've got a lot to learn, let's keep walking." The young Dogman tilted its head once, almost curiously, then darted into the thick underbrush, vanishing without a sound. What neither of them saw was the figure standing deeper in the trees. An adult Dogman, easily 7 feet tall, watched from the shadows. Its eyes blazed with fury, its claws flexing at its sides. It had seen everything. It had seen Paul raise his weapon. It had heard Enoch's rebuke. And it understood something. These two men were not ordinary prey. It also knew there were limits. Something about these men, a covering it couldn't break, not yet. But as it slipped silently back into the forest, its mind was already working. The next night, it would push those limits. And this time, both men would be tested. Like and subscribe for Part 8, The Night the Woods Came Alive.